and welcome to this class on Milton's Paradise Lost. You have earlier seen how we have talked about the context of Milton and the age in which he wrote. This is the third class in the sequence where we will be talking about the first book, what the book is about, and how to approach the text. In our previous classes, we have seen Milton as a political spokesperson who went through a lot of changes in his circumstances and who was a man full of lofty ideals of human freedom, of democracy, of justice, and how those ideas faced disillusionment towards the end of his life. Paradise Lost was written at a time when all other points of focus in Milton's life went away from him. So he could concentrate on this book and create something magnificent. When we look at the text and the 12 books, we ask ourselves this question, that how he could take away bits and pieces of such a huge book as the Bible. Paradise Lost is a story. I'm calling it a story because every literary creation is a creation of a man. And from that perspective, the Bible, the Gita, the Quran, everything is a literary piece. So, looking at the Bible as a huge story, we can say that it is very difficult for a man to choose a section of that story and tell. What section did Milton select? He selected the very first part of the Genesis. Now the Bible is also divided into different parts. Genesis talks about, the word Genesis means origin, the beginning. Now this book Genesis talks about the creation of man, the purpose behind man's creation, his fall through temptation and disobedience, and how he turned to be a mortal creature. So this story of Bible is recreated in Paradise Lost. In your syllabus, you have the first book. Now, if Milton was to follow the story of Genesis as a narrative, he would have begun at the point when God was creating things. But he doesn't do that. He begins his book at a point when the story is half over, when the angels have already been created, when God has already selected his successor, his bearer of power, when some of the angels have already rebelled, So this is called media res, or middle of an action. Now, Paradise Lost is an epic, but it has qualities of drama. Okay, just like in case of tragedies, you find that tragedies begin at media res sometimes, and sometimes in the beginning. But any interesting story or any interesting narrative is made more interesting if you select a very important stage in that storyline as the beginning of your narration. Okay. First, I will explain to you the difference between story and plot. When you tell a story, you begin from the beginning. There was a king and there was a queen and they had a son, and then he went for hunting and then he got lost. So this sequencing is based on time. Then what happened? Then what happened? That is how you tell a story. But what is a plot? A plot is rearranging that story so that the listener or the audience or the spectator, he finds things more interesting. You go back and forth in narration. There are flashbacks, okay, and then there are flash forwards. Okay, so if you go on shifting in your time scale, the telling becomes more interesting. So plot means arrangement of those events into a certain order. In case of Paradise Lost Book 1, you see that the action begins at a crucial juncture. Now, before going any further, let's assume you know the story of the Bible, but in case you don't know, it might happen that you are not acquainted with the story. Let me give you a very brief synopsis, very brief. And please excuse me if I miss out some of the very important details which I should mention, but I'm just giving you an overview here. So God is considered to be, according to the Old Testament, the be-all and end-all of everything. He is the one entity who has no equals, and He is the source of creation. So God, He started creating things. He created the angels first. And among these angels, there was an angel called Lucifer. Lucifer means bearer of light. And these angels were like those stars, they were so bright. So Lucifer was called Lucifer because he was the brightest. Okay, he was the brightest angel. And his responsibility was to bear the light. Now, God has this arrangement where He sat with His angels, and one fine day, there was a time when God would announce to everybody the name of the next in power person. Okay. So what did God do? Lucifer was expecting that he is the brightest, he is the closest to God, and he obviously loves God because God is the source of sustenance for everybody. And God would choose him to be the successor. Now, it is not like the successors of kings, because kings choose their successor, somebody who will become king after them, because kings die, but God will not die. So in this case, the successor means the person whom I am choosing as next in power. Maybe I am taking a nap. This person will be responsible for what's happening in the world. That kind of, next in power, like a vice president or a vice principal kind of a thing. But God did not select Lucifer. He selected whom he calls his Son, who later was born as the Christ. His name is not Christ there in heaven. He is just called the Son. Now Lucifer is angered, that I have served you so much and this is what I get. You don't select me as your next in power. You are selecting your son. How am I any less than him? Okay. And he has his band of followers. We all know that in an office you have lobbies of people. So Lucifer had his lobby. He had his group of followers who also said that, okay, yes, this is injustice. And we will rebel against God. So they rebelled against God. Then what happened? They had calculated, okay, we are going to do this, we are going to do that, this will be our attack mode, that will be our defense strategy. They thought they knew everything about God and his offenses. But they did not know about one weapon which God had, which was enough to defeat them. That weapon was the thunder. Okay. Now thunder is the weapon of Jupiter. It is a powerful weapon of the most important god in all mythologies. So in Christian mythology also, this god, he had this thunder, and with that thunder he pinned down the angels. It was like this thunder was pinning the angels down, and they fell from heaven to the deepest tract of hell. Because God, while creating the universe, he not only created the world as we see it, but also a hell. Because he knew that there will be a requirement of a place as residence for the fallen people, those who disobey God. So what we find in Paradise Lost Book 1 is a beginning of that fallen state. Paradise Lost starts with, or at that point when Lucifer has fallen from the heavens. It does not start with Adam or Eve or man or anything. It starts with Lucifer fallen, defeated, and how he is planning to go back in action. Alright. After book 1, rather in the 4th book, you have a detailed description of Adam and Eve and what they did. Although it is not there in book 1, but I'll still take you through the story of Adam and Eve so that it becomes easier for you to understand a few things which are mentioned in book 1. Now, after Lucifer's revolt, God became very sad. He thought, okay, my own children, he thought his angels were his children, rebelled against me. So, let me just not think about them. Let me do something else with my time. And he started to create a type of creature who were not as powerful as the angels, but were different in their qualities. He first created Adam, and as the Bible goes, he created Adam after his own shape, not like the beasts of the world, but like the angels, without wings, of course. And he placed him in the Garden of Eden. Eden is believed to be a place on earth with boundaries this was a place which was the paradise, and it was full of friendly animals, and Adam's responsibility was to take care of those animals, and he could take the fruits of the plants and have them any time he wanted. Then God started to see Adam as a bearer of his grace. It's like Adam is going to be my last hope, because Lucifer was hopeless. This happens when a person's first child is not as per his own wishes. He puts all his stakes on the second child. So Adam was like a replacement for Lucifer in God's mind. I don't know, it's like probably. But then Adam was very lonely because he was a single guy and there was not much to do there. So God, he decided to get him a companion, and he created Eve. The text says that he created Eve from Adam's ribs, and some of the text says that the word which was used in the original Bible, it actually meant side. So Eve was created at the side of Adam. So that is a different issue. So Eve was created as a companion to Adam. They had the whole paradise to themselves, but there was only one condition. God said that you can do whatever you want, you can be whatever you want to be anywhere. Just do not consume the fruit of the forbidden tree. That forbidden tree was a tree of knowledge. So Adam and Eve said, fine, we have so much to enjoy here. Why should we bother about one particular fruit and one particular tree? They went about their own business. We have a fallen angel lurking in hell, wanting revenge, and we have two apparently innocent people on paradise. Now what Satan thought he could do is, he was powerless to directly attack God. He knew that. He wanted to attack and destroy something which God loved. Okay. So his target were these human beings which God had created. He first goes to paradise to check on them. Out of the two, he understands that this woman is more susceptible to temptation. He goes there in the shape of a serpent, entices, seduces Eve to take that fruit and eat. Eve says that, no, if I take that fruit and eat, I'll die. And he says, die? How do you know? This is the tree of knowledge. Why is knowledge wrong? And eventually Eve gives in. She eats that eats that forbidden fruit. And this concept of that fruit being apple is so deeply ingrained in our minds that the slip of tongue becomes very disturbing, because it is not mentioned in the Bible that the fruit was an apple or a peach. We don't know what that fruit was. But we, for our convenience's sake, since apple is such a beautiful fruit, so we consider that to be the forbidden fruit. It's not mentioned in the Bible in that way. The Bible does not mention the name of the fruit, because of course it is a special fruit. If it is a fruit which is available to human beings, how can it be forbidden? So it was a special kind of fruit which Eve got from that tree, and she ate it. And suddenly she realized so many things about life that she started to be ashamed of her nakedness. She covered herself up. Before that, they did not have any idea of nakedness or shamefulness for the body. Just like animals, Adam and Eve were free of those feelings. After consumption of that forbidden fruit, Eve got aware of her body, of her shyness, and she covered herself up. Seeing her, Adam was a bit surprised that why have you put all those leaves about you? And Eve offers the fruit to Adam. Adam knew what he was going into. But that was a moment of choice for him, where he chose suffering because he chose Eve. I'd rather be with her than be alone in this paradise, kind of a thing. And he also consumed the fruit. He also got conscious of his nakedness. Both of them got covered. God came. He did not actually come in front of them. He came in through that light. He always spoke to human beings from the clouds. So he was very angry. He said, "What happened to you? Why are you ashamed of yourself? Have you done anything wrong?" And they confessed. And God said that you need to be punished for this. You have disobeyed my order. And since you have disobeyed my order, you will be banished from paradise. You will not be immortals anymore. And then Adam said that I ate the fruit because she gave it to me. Okay, then Eve said, I ate the fruit because the serpent told me. So everybody was passing the blame on the other person. God said, I don't want to hear anything. As a man, you need to toil hard, and food will not be available to you free anymore. You need to toil and till the land with your sweat to satisfy yourself, to feed yourself and your family. To Eve, he said, you are a greater criminal, so you are more responsible. Therefore, you will give birth through pain. All right. You will labor in your delivery. And he cursed Eve. And for the serpent, he said that from now onwards, you will crawl forever on the ground. You will feel the heat and the hardships of the ground with your body. So that is why a serpent always crawls. So this is the story of the Bible, which Milton has taken up. So this is the story of losing the paradise. Who is losing the paradise? Adam is losing the paradise. What is the story about? The story is about the fall of man. Then why does it not begin with man? Why does it begin with Lucifer struggling in hell, deciding to sting back? This is where a lot of critical attention has been given to the point of view that Milton was trying to give. Was he being on the side of the Satan? Was he talking about the glorification of rebellion? Or was he talking about the bad things which man did and the fall which he got, which he deserved? Book 1 is not enough to answer all these questions. Book 1 is not enough to give us the idea on whose sides Milton is on. We don't know from book 1. But our work is to look at book 1 and see its various parts and what they deal with. So in our ensuing lectures, discussions, we will be talking about these various parts. We can divide the first book into 5 parts. I'll give you the exact line numbers so that you know because there are no episode divisions or canto divisions in case of Paradise Lost Book 1. But thematically you can divide the book up into 5 parts. The first part, which is from line 1 to line 83, you have the invocation and the creation of the stage on which the action will take place. You know what an invocation is. It's a very popular convention of the epic poets where he addresses a superior deity for inspiration, a muse from whom he or she will derive the knowledge and the inspiration for writing a huge thing. And second is, it's about stating the theme of the book which is starting. So we will talk in detail about invocation in the later discussions. Line 1 to 83 is about invocation and giving you a background, a backdrop where the action begins. Line 84 to 220 brings us to the second part of this book. Here you find a series of conversations between Satan, which is Lucifer's another name. After Lucifer fell from heaven, his original name was, it was taken away from him because he was no more the brightest angel, he was no more a glorified figure, but a fallen angel, and his name became Satan. We refer to him as Satan. Satan means adversary. It is a very common name. You also have this word in other languages like Satan or Shaitan. It has everything to do with something which is anti-God or the adversary of God. So from line 84 to 220, you have conversations between Satan and his very close companion Beelzebub, like second in power to Satan. They express doubts, they express arguments against each other, they ask each other questions which are troubling them at that point when they have fallen from heaven, what they should do after this. So these lines are about that, and they have very remarkable speeches by Satan which establish him as a very strong character. Again, we will talk in detail about what those speeches actually tell about Satan and what Milton is trying to tell us, because those are two different things. Line 221 to 313 is about an elaborate description of hell, how Satan rose from that lake of fire in which he was thrown down from heaven, how he stood on hell, how he decides to call his other companions, because when God threw Satan down, he did not throw Satan alone. He sent all his rebel angels down. Whoever partied with Satan, whoever grouped with Satan were thrown down to hell. So third part is about that alliance growing and how Satan decides to call those angels up from that lake of fire and rebuild their courage. It shows Satan as a leader here. Line 314 to 570 is essentially, it's like a roll call of angels catalog where Milton describes one angel after one angel as they come out of that lake of fire and stands in front of Satan. So it's pretty conventional again of him, because this is something which we also find in many of the epics where soldiers and warriors are catalogued and roll called in this fashion. And the fifth and final part of book 1 is about what future course of action will be taken. Satan discusses that with his angels, and there is this huge palace built where these angels will confer, counsel with each other, and that palace is pandemonium. Okay, so we will deal with all these parts separately. From our next day, we will take up the text, read through the lines. It will not be physically possible or feasible to actually read through each and every line, so I will have to skip a little bit. I would take up those lines which I think are more important in maintaining this sequence of events and to make you understand the text. So next day we will first talk about invocation, and if time permits, we will take up this whole first chunk, that is line 1 to line 83. Alright, so I hope I have provided you with enough background information. My advice to you before you come for the next class is, if possible, go through the story of the Genesis. It is widely available on the internet. If you don't have any books at your disposal at present, you can see those short videos which talk about Genesis or the story of Adam and Eve. See them. There is a movie which I would recommend before we begin the text. That movie is called The 10 Commandments. Okay. If you watch the movie, it's a very long movie, and but it is very important for you to know the story of Moses, which is the subject of that story. Okay. It will help you understand many of the symbols and images which are scattered around Paradise Lost. So I hope to see you again very soon with this text. Okay, so I hope to see you all very soon, and please stay safe till then, and thank you for being here. Bye bye.